You want to start the show?
I do. Hey, everyone, or maybe just you, and welcome to the Enlightened Couch Potato Show. I am Adrianne Gunn, and I'm here with my friend
Nicholas Rave. Damn, we have cool last names.
We do. We totally win the last name
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah. Like I can't even remember how many people have asked me if my last name was fake. Like if I came up with that. Nope. I've for a long time said I have a cooler last name than Nicolas Cage, and his is made up.
Ooh, that's amazing. I compare myself to Tommy Gunn from Rocky. Same dude. A little troubling.
Yeah, I suppose.
Gentle, not so gentle fellow, I suppose. There is a knight who's on a plaque somewhere in Massachusetts, a Sir Gunn who came over with some Vikings or something.
Oh, Sir Gunn.
Like a what did my dad tell me? In the many recounting that he will do of things that he watches on History or Discovery, he'll just tell me the whole episode and I will hear some of it. In between stories about rocks, because he likes to collect rocks, agates specifically.
Yep.
I don't know if you've had the pleasure of having a 69-year-old man talk to you about rocks, but I can, or text you about rocks. I can give you his number.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I do like agates. They're cool and stuff. But like, yeah. I mean, whatever. Everybody's got to have their thing.
Yeah. I was waiting to see if the version of knights would pop into my head because it's kind of cool, but it didn't. It did not. It's a special kind of knight that this Sir Gunn was.
A Templar?
I think so. Knight Templar Knight. Absolutely.
Really?
That is actually the thing. Totally.
Yeah. I think those are the ones that like, didn't they do the crusade? I think that was the Knights Templar. So
yes. Yeah.
They
were up to some shenanigans doing some stuff. Yeah. Hey, look, it's a day of the week. And here we are. We watched some stuff we're going to talk about, I suppose.
Yeah. That's what we do here.
What do we do here?
We explore how to watch movies and TV for maximum psychological and spiritual development.
Yes.
And typically how we do that is we start the show and then just talk to each other about all the things that we watched in the last week, which is often a lot because we like watching things. And one of the reasons we like watching things is because we have made an effort to figure out how to let movies and TV change us and use them as a spiritual and psychological healing tool. So
one of the themes in my life in the past week or so is to acknowledge and be nice to myself about my own natural proclivities. And this has actually come up. I've been re-listening to Liz Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love. She's reading it. I've got it out of book on tape because I'm old, audiobook, and I'm listening. And one of the funny bits, she gets to this part where she thought she was going to go into silent meditation in India, and then they gave her a new job. Instead of scrubbing the floors, she was going to be this host for all of these people coming to their silent meditation. So they just needed her to be gregarious and talking to people. So some of the themes coming up lately in my own life have been that I've been wondering why I haven't been diving into spirituality in the ways that I have in the past. And the story that came up, a friend of mine was like, about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, when you watched every single one of the Marvel universe, like Avengers movies, like you realized that you were dropping in and doing the work of healing the world, right?
Yes.
Not only like dropping in and doing healing of your own self, but you were called to that because that's part of your, there are many monks who hum and drone off on mountains and stuff. And that was your version of doing that. And I was like, that is true. That was my version of doing that. And I've been just thinking a lot about the things that I'm drawn to talking about and getting excited about and encouraging in other people. And I get pretty thrilled when I stop shooting myself about what spirituality is supposed to look like or what I like the kind of meditation I should be doing that's like totally spiritual. I'm like, No, I do already have this deeply spiritual process of paying attention to the way that media moves me and shows up for me. And the things that I think you'll love. So I have been feeling an emotional call. And by call, I mean somewhat terrified of things I haven't watched yet. And I like to pay attention to my resistance, as we know. That's a theme for me. And I'm wondering if you want to hear about it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you can't watch everything. So there are two guiding feelings that we often talk about as telling you what direction to go. And that is things you're drawn to, like I really want to watch this, watch that. And then also things that you're like, I don't think I want to watch that. That is also often a good sign that there's something there for you to learn.
So if we harken back to our theme of the TV and movies that made us, there are two shows, one that exists and one that's going to happen, that are sort of they're part of my DNA in a way. So one of them is a little bit less terrifying. Apparently there's a Punky Brewster remake where Soleil Moonfry, pretty sure that's how you say her name, the woman who played Punky Brewster, is now an adult. She is a photographer by trade who has these children she may or may not have adopted. And apparently we're meeting her in her just separated from her husband life, who is played by Freddie Prinze Jr.
Okay.
And one of the friends that was from the Punky world is also in it. And so it's like a heartfelt family-esque sitcom featuring artsy single mom lady who used to be fun. And so she's sort of like finding her fun again. And I remember at some point in high school remembering, oh my God, I used to love Punky Brewster. I used to watch that. Kind of had the love to like roll up the whatever your pants and the bandanas on the things. And there was something fashion wise I dug. So I had these VHS tapes from back then. So I would like played it and I was watching one of the episodes and I was like, this is awful. This is not good. This is dumb. And
I don't know anything about Punky
not
Brewster.
Funny. Yeah, I think Punky Brewster was just a young girl adopted by this old dude. Tiny young quirky girl and super old white dude. Plus her friends. There's this episode I do remember where one of the friends, they're playing hide and seek maybe at a junkyard, and one of the friends hides in a refrigerator and almost dies. And so you got to remember, don't do that is the point. That's the moral. I remember going back and watching that. It was so bad. And I'm also a little terrified because I don't really know what the cellular memory of this like feisty, like Pippi Longstocking sort of in there too. Like the triumphant, silly, rebel young girl. And I think back in the 80s, being a non-conforming young woman was kind of a big deal. It was a bigger deal because apparently no one did that. And I was one of those that did that.
Yeah.
So Punky was in that world of like, what do you mean I'm not supposed to do the thing because I'm a girl? Fuck that. I'm going to do this thing. And anyway, cute sitcom. I'm a little terrified of it because I'm having a feeling that it'll make sense when I describe this next sitcom that is also coming out. So by the same people who made Blackish.
Wait, hold on. Can we Punky Brewster for a second before you move on?
Yeah,
okay. So it sounds like they're doing a Cobra Kai thing with Punky freaking Brewster, which is like,
I know
that seems like an odd choice.
I don't know who has lingering feelings about Punky Brewster.
Right. And also, wasn't it like that was like quite a while ago? So it's not even like hitting the age range that would have. It's like, I don't know. I guess Mr. Rogers was still a big deal, and that was even further back. But
like early 80s.
Yeah. So the other thing that comes to mind is like there are other movies that for me hold up. Yeah. Like The Never-Ending Story. I talk about that one a lot. I feel like that one is one that is like still cool, even though there's some of the special effects are a little hokey, but it's like it knows how to do what it does well. But then there's movies like Tron.
Yeah.
So many people have fond memories of the first Tron movie, including me. You go back and watch that. That movie is so boring.
Yeah.
Like there's just long sequences where they're showing off their special effects and you're just like, oh my God, kids watched this?
Yeah, I'd be scared to watch Police Academy. For a similar reason, like all 6 of them.
Comedy too in general is a thing that like it doesn't always age well. Like there's some movies like Blues Brothers that I went and watched much later than everybody else watched it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
It's just Benny Hill with cars.
Yeah, really. So, but people thought it was cool and stuff.
Right?
Like
Well, so you've got this like 80s comedy sitcom with a tiny person that was made for kids attempting to be now a new sitcom. I'm not sure. And it's also Punky Brewster was like Blossom before Blossom was Blossom.
That is who I have in my head when you say the word Punky Brewster, or when you say that name, I'm like Blossom.
I know it's essentially the same thing, but just different.
And she was old. She was older, and the subject matter was a little more teenage, but.
Like elementary school through middle school is like Punky, and then Blossom is middle to high school. Yeah, so
could be cool though. I mean, wouldn't the weirdest thing in the world be if it was freaking awesome? Like it was like dealing with like really deep issues and like talking about stuff in a really relevant kind of way.
Right. So my theory, which I will start talking about as I talk about this other show, is that it won't be awesome.
Okay, you probably have a pretty good bet there, but
go down to Vegas. So
I want to know why.
Not awesome.
I want to know why.
So there's this show made by the same people who made Blackish. I can feel the hairs on my neck already starting to like prickle up for me right now. Before I even say the fucking title of this show. This show is called this show is called Mixed-ish.
Sorry,
I have to compose myself slightly.
Seems like maybe that word has some like personal weight.
Mixed-ish. Cool. So this is a show with a biracial couple, a father and mother, set in the 80s, raising 2 daughters who are of mixed race. And so they will reveal from the perspective of the 80s what it is to be a family that is like biracial parents and biracial children, mixed family in the 80s. Except, and the fucking father is Mark Paul Gosselaar. Zach from Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
The actor who plays Zach from Saved by the Bell. So on one hand, it could be terrifying for me to watch a mixed family in the 80s because I was a child in a mixed family in the 80s. And that could be so incredibly relevant that it could be traumatizing to me to watch. Or it could be so viscerally finally being represented.
Well, depends on how well they represent it.
But the creepy factor is that the person who would be playing my dad would also be the person that I grew up having a crush on and also wanting to be.
Whoa.
And so like as I process our own, this is what we do when we drop fully in and say yes, I'm like, this show terrifies the shit out of me. Now I watched a trailer and this is straight up being a comedy like a sitcom.
Yeah.
And I just cringed at them trying so hard at all of the jokes and all of the energy and the enthusiasm. And I was just like, on one level, I actually think that we should be completely done with the classic sitcom model, because I think it's crap and there's so much better television happening.
Yeah.
That's part of what terrifies me, is to take something that could be beautifully done and use this antiquated format and also set it back in the 80s. Now there's an opportunity with the 80s. I just watched Glow mess around with the 80s and racism and touch, and it's sort of like you can sort of drop in, because the 80s were so just god awful and stereotypical. You sort of can drop in, and it's a little bit of disassociation to it that allows you to actually fully explore something, recognizing it's part of the past. But boy, that just seems like an entire minefield of rewiring my body and contorting it on my couch in ways that I'm not sure I'm ready for.
Well, if it's like, 2.5 Men level fucking jokes, then it's like,
it's serious.
This makes me think of two things. It makes me think of all of the movies that I felt, movies and shows that I felt were a squandered opportunity or potential, where it's like there was something really cool here that you could have done and you fucking ruined it. Like you just left it all on the table because you don't know what you're doing and you don't understand the subject matter. The other thing that it makes me think is, boy, do you need to watch WandaVision because they are kind of they're playing with that format. And the last episode, they finally got to the 80s, and it was unreal. So good. Like the titles, they have title sequences that they modeled off of, like it's Wanda and Vision, and they have like a 50s version, a 60s version, the 80s version, like children of the 80s were just cackling the whole way through because it's so schmaltzy and it's so on point. Like they nail it.
Nice.
It's really fun. So
yeah,
I'm not telling you anything about the plot line, but you're gonna enjoy that, and the dissection of the tropes of that sitcom format that's just like so old.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's still happening. But then again, there's like, I think we've talked about the fact that like 2.5 Men was for on forever at NCIS. And apparently there's this middle of the country, or this collection of humans who have vastly different values and humor.
Yeah.
I
and
think
really enjoy that format still.
I guess I gotta put it down with like the same people who, when they reach for like a beautiful tea bread, like a pumpkin spiced tea bread, they don't get just viscerally pissed off if there are raisins in it instead of chocolate chips. I worked at this community college where they would make this amazing chocolate chip pumpkin fucking tea bread. Every bite was just so saturating and perfect. And to go and grab it thinking that I bought the chocolate chip one and then to bite in and for there to be raisins, I'm like, part of the thing about raisins is they steal the moisture from the rest of the bread. So the whole bread experience isn't just like moist and chocolatey with pumpkin. It's just like salty, savory, fatty. It's like, so what I'm saying,
what did raisins do to you?
Is that as much as I can't understand why the sitcom format exists, I have to appreciate that maybe somebody is walking to that fucking snack shop at the college, grabbing it, and it's like, oh my god, it's Raisins Day, and it's their best day, and like
some fucking monster is walking up there,
and they're like, I'm so excited, I don't even like chocolate. You know, the same people are like, it's sweater weather, I want to wear a scarf. You know, so I'm sure somebody's like, oh my gosh, I get to see my story of my childhood with my I so him, and now he gets to be my daddy. Somebody is thrilled that this show was happening while I'm just...
That somebody is not you.
Apparently, no. I did make it through the trailers, but I had to pause a bunch.
Well, I am curious to see the report when these things finally come out.
I mean, I've already had an emotionally stirring experience without even watching the show.
Yeah. All right. So what have you watched? Like, wait, did we start with something you watched already?
No, I watched Aquaman.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Hey, do you know? So it was long.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is the most relevant thing to say about that movie.
So it was, so I'd already watched Batman versus Superman and the couple of Wonder Woman things. And what did I watched Everybody's Together, Justice League. I watched Justice League. So it's sort of seen Aquaman do a thing of usefulness. I think I don't remember anything about
this. Was better than those things. And for me, that is not saying a lot.
Yeah. So it's very long. It's very long in the way that the other movies are long. It's actually quite beautiful.
Yes.
And I don't recall hating him or who he's being or how it all goes for any of it. And I do remember having this moment somewhere kind of near the end where I was like, so as we're evolving as a society, are we ready yet to begin to give men as much shit for their mommy and daddy issues as we tend to give women? Are we super ready for that yet? Because that's so this movie. I'm just like, mommy issues. Oh my God, with like the villain and like daddy issues with the thing. I was like, are we ready to tease? Or are we going to be more evolved? I was like, I know every human has trauma. But just in this particular superhero movie, I just keep like knocking on the doors. Like, when are we really going to talk about this?
So give me an example of where that's not like I gather you were drawing a line along gender there. So you feel like men don't get as much flack for it, or that it's more acceptable to just have those issues?
Here's what's fun about daddy issues as a man, is you probably just work too hard at being successful and achieving shit that you don't fucking care about. To prove it to your dad that you can be a man. That's like our whole society's like,
right. They put those people on a pedestal.
Right. I'm like, so guys, knock, knock, knock. You don't give a shit about that. And it keeps you from feeling your penis, but that's a long story. Anywho. And then there's just like all the, like the ending of the Batman versus Superman where they're like, Martha. Right? Like Batman, it's sad because his family dies, but that's every story of every guy who's now a vigilante is like, oh, I lost my mommy.
Yeah.
But nobody's like, hey dude, therapy. Cheaper.
Right. No, let's just put on a costume and beat the fuck out of people.
Yeah. So we're at Aquaman and like, you know, he's like, he's got to train to live up to his legacy because he's the heir. But on the other side, down in Atlantis, Waterworld, there's his half brother who's like, I fucking hate my half brother because mommy. And then now they're fighting each other and like, I would love to meet you because I didn't have a brother. And that's pretty cool. I know having a brother would be really cool. Oh no, but why don't we hate each other? I don't know, mommy. Right? That's
pretty much 3 hours of that and a video game. It's basically like scenes of that interspersed with cutscenes from a video game.
Right. Well, And the world they build is fantastic and gorgeous and beautiful. And the scenes of the fighting different animals are really pretty sweet. I love I don't know. It is a video game with these weird ass levels of like, oh, what is this world where if you have a flare, you won't get eaten?
Yeah.
How did mom get through that? I don't know. I just went with like, women are awesome.
Jason Mimosa is very, very charming though. So
Right,
I will watch him like that. That carries the movie. He's like charismatic as fuck and gorgeous, obviously, and he does a great job. He's funny and he's charming and like he freaking nails it and gives. I mean, let's give a little perspective here, okay?
Sure.
That movie is, I would argue, one of the best DC movies that has been made. Like maybe the first Wonder Woman is better, but like point to another one. Like they're all garbage, and that movie is like acceptable, if not forgettable. This is fucking Aquaman. Aquaman is a joke. Aquaman has always been a joke. Right. Aquaman is like, the joke has always been like, what are you going to do if there's a problem in the desert, you dumbass? Like, you're going to call your fish friends? And like, they made him into an actually cool, interesting kind of character. And
this
like,
is why
I know
the Deep is such a pushover.
Yes, okay, exactly. Yeah. In The Boys. They did do that in the comics, by the way. So in the comics, they made Aquaman into a badass. So they are modeling that. But the Aquaman that has existed in cultural consciousness is a joke. Right. And to then like turn that around, that's impressive to me. Now, I will say, like, you're like the video game stuff, and you're saying like the world that they built. I would just like, I'll contrast that with like Avatar, right?
Which I haven't seen.
The James Cameron Blue People Avatar?
Not yet.
Oh, all right. Well, it's Dances with Smurf. That's what it is. It's Dances with Wolves with giant Smurfs. That's what the movie is. It's good. I mean, James Cameron is a consummate filmmaker. So he's excellent. He did a wonderful job. What's a different world building example? I mean, there's not a lot. People don't build new worlds anymore. They just make old ones. They adapt them. But yeah, I would just say like, it's the world that they build is so cluttered and forgettable. It reminds me of the prequel Star Wars movies where it's like, this is a cartoon. I'm watching a cartoon here. And like, there's this very famous line when I can't remember if it was Lucas or Rick something or other, who's the producer of the Star Wars movies. There's this famous line where it's behind the scenes, and at some point, I think it was Lucas says like, every shot is just so dense. And then people have made the comment that they're like, that's what I look for in my movies, like density. I measure the enjoyment that I get out of my movie based on how dense every shot is.
Yeah. So many things.
And like, that was very much Aquaman. It's like, and then at some point you're just like, is it still going?
Yeah. Here's what's funny about what some of these movies attempt to do, and maybe they don't get it. Here's a for instance. I also watched SWAT recently, and there's this. So it's Colin Farrell, Jeremy Renner, other people who are in the LA SWAT team. And there's this scene that's, I think, supposed to establish Colin Farrell's, he's a SWAT guy, and something goes down and he gets demoted to working in just like the room where they fix the guns and hand people their gear. But he's still so dedicated that on his off time, he's just like running and shooting and doing the push-ups and stuff. And so there's
Doesn't he throw up after he runs? Is that the movie?
There's a throw up scene.
Yeah.
Because that's how hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushing himself till he throws up.
Yeah.
So then he walks into some apartment. I'm assuming it's his. There happens to be a woman there wearing half a shirt plus maybe some pants that start, below, just slightly above her pubes because it's 2003 and that's where waistlines were then. And,
oh yeah.
And
I
then
missed that.
So there's this supremely awkward, there's this breakup that is implying, one, that there was a relationship, two, that it was okay-ish, and three, now it's over, which was a supremely important scene to put in this movie that's mostly just shooting and blowing up stuff to establish something emotional.
What exactly? We'll just show the whole relationship. The whole relationship will happen off screen. We'll just show the breakup. Is it similar to Batman needs to be an orphan? Is it just to give him something? Yeah.
Maybe he's just in case you wouldn't have guessed. He had a girlfriend, but he just wasn't emotionally available. So let's give you this.
Yeah. What does it teach you about the character? How is that relevant to the rest of the story? Yeah.
So then we've got this. So Aquaman opens up with he's born of, for some reason, his mother's escaping and is lands in a lighthouse, falls in love with the lighthouse keeper. So he is the child of two people from different worlds. That's pretty cool. That's a thing. That's a story that happens. And then apparently, his dad's nice and he sticks around and takes care of him still. And his dad keeps waiting for mom to come back because apparently that's how love works. You don't move on or anything because you're waiting.
Ooh, hey, now you're questioning deep movie tropes. That's not,
I know.
You're not supposed to question that one.
I know.
If you really love someone, you will never move on. You will just wait for them forever.
Not only will you wait, but you'll walk out to the edge of a dock in the morning and also in the evening, just in case they've come up. So, yeah. And then apparently at some point your son's going to be trained by some other fish guy that comes out of the water, but no one knows where your mom is. Cool. Yeah. So what's interesting to me is that is our emotional content that we know about this guy. He's he kind of takes care of his dad. He misses his mom. I have no idea why he decided to be Aquaman and kick anybody's ass, but he's kicking ass for reasons no one knows. That's not explained. And then he doesn't want to be a king. That's kind of rad. And it's useful at some point. But who is this guy? We don't know. If you contrast that with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, if you contrast that with
interesting choice, but I'm with you.
Superhero movie that actually knows how to do the fucking emotional content.
Right.
That has you sobbing your soul out in front of strangers in a theater. I'm just so confused knowing that it's possible. Why people wouldn't find a way to write with more emotional depth.
Oh, I don't think this is something to blame on the writers. I think that when you see, especially in this specific case, when you see a consistent track record of movies coming out from a studio that are garbage, repeatedly garbage, over and over and over, that's money. That's the problem. It's studio interference. And the difference between that and Marvel is leadership. Right. It's the leadership. Yeah. The leadership at Warner Brothers. It's Warner Brothers that does DC, right? Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers. The money guys are running the show. And yes, I know the money guys run the show behind Kevin Feige at Marvel, but they're smart enough to go, you got this. We're going to stay out of your way. And we're trusting that you're going to make a movie that's going to be amazing because we know that that's actually going to make us the most money in the end. So stay the fuck out of the way of the artists and let them make mistakes because they will sometimes.
Try stuff, have a team that works and goes to depths. I'm actually quite confused. Do they just really make enough money at this point that they don't have to make it good?
They really do. That movie made $1 billion because of largely because of the foreign audience, where think about watching a movie in another language. If you're watching a movie in another language, what if everyone in that country was like, these people are terrible actors. Like, you can't, this is horrible. And then it comes over here and we're like, oh, this is cool. Look at all the visuals and stuff. And you can't tell that they're terrible actors.
Right.
Because you don't know what it's supposed to sound like. You know what they're saying.
Because you get different actors doing the voices.
You take a shitty English movie to China, and then a shitty English movie with lots of cool visuals and interesting stuff going on. And then they're like, yeah, I mean, Transformers is like the perfect example of that. It's like these movies are garbage, but they're visually interesting.
And that's good enough.
It's good enough. It seems to be like demonstrably good enough for them to make enough money to keep doing it.
And it seems to me that DC people who love the comics, aren't they frustrated?
Oh, well, there's a die-hard fan base that's very small relatively. But yes, the vast majority of people who actually like Superman, for instance, are like, ugh, what is this? Because like no one's done Superman right, and it could be done right. Like it needs someone actually creative who understands the character and isn't going to go, well, he needs to be more like Batman. What? No, idiot.
I haven't watched Smallville, I'll say. I have no idea who Superman is.
There
He's
are
sort of like insert man here.
There are a few comics that if you ever wanted to get like, there's a few people who are really smart who took the Superman concept and then were like, what would this really be like? And who is he? What is the dilemma? And the dilemma, that's what they did not understand in the Zack Snyder movies, is they don't understand Superman's dilemma.
Right.
Yeah. Random bit of trivia about Aquaman, and then maybe let's move on or wrap up. I don't even know how long we've been doing this. So he like travels down into this deep trench and then meets like a creature down there.
Yes.
Do you remember? I don't remember what it was. Is it like a crab or something? Or
so
like
he's got to pass some tests. He's supposed to find this magical trident that if he is able to wield the trident, he is now considered the king of all of the world.
Which is, by the way, great way to decide. Almost as good as, I know this might be blasphemy, Wakanda, for instance. Like, wonderful way to choose your successor. Like, by combat? Like, maybe that's not a great idea. And how do I know that? Because that's the whole plot of the movie is that it wasn't a good idea because a psychopath took over your country because he kicked his ass.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit more like a magic hammer choosing you.
True. In the trident thingy, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because combat, I mean, yeah, they have both Wakanda and what Atlantis have this like fight with your tridents, and then you win, you get to be king. But this magic trident has this gauntlet that you must pass through that has a different quality. It's more like the magic hammer, that if you are worthy to wield this thing.
Got it. So it tells your character. So
exactly.
The point of trivia I was going to make is, the creature talks to him at one point?
Yes.
Do you know who that was?
It had a big voice. I love that freaking creature, by the way.
Yeah.
When he befriends the creature, because he has the sensitive ability to vibrate communication to fishy fish and such.
Yes. Fishy fish.
So such a beautiful, heartfelt man who can talk to the undersea water beings.
The creature that he ends up talking to at the bottom, which I think is the one that tells him that his mom is still alive or something. That's Julie Andrews.
What?
That was Mary fucking Poppins who did the voice of that creature.
What?
And I saw that Julie Andrews was on the cast list, and I was watching the movie for like, where's she going to show up? Is she going to be like a queen who's like, is she going to be like a witch or something? Or is she like the grandmother character who's going to come show up? And like, no, she's the voice of the giant horrific creature at the bottom of the trench.
That's amazing. That creature is epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's already seen his mom. His mom's like hanging out on an island after going through all the scary
I watched it a long time ago and I immediately forgot the whole movie pretty much.
And one of my favorite bit is like all this time he's been waiting to see his mom and he's like, oh, hey, mom, I'm going to get this trident thing. Let's like hug. Okay, but like they don't have time to talk.
Yeah.
The world is ending.
Yeah.
I don't
We're
know.
not going to catch up or like reconnect or. Yeah. And then she conveniently shows up at the end. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't hate it. I really didn't. I did not hate it. Like I will definitely go out on a limb and be like, I did not like Batman versus Superman or Justice League.
Totally.
This was fine. It was good in some parts and it was long in the tooth in other parts and pretty dumb in a few parts, but mostly it didn't piss me off like the other movies. It was just like,
Yeah.
The first Wonder Woman, no, the second Wonder Woman, that one pissed me off.
Yeah.
The first one though, that one actually had, I don't think there were any moments in Aquaman that made me go, fuck, that was cool. But in the first Wonder Woman, there were several moments that I was like, damn it, that was actually great.
Yes.
And then it doesn't quite stick. The landing, the ending was not what it could have been. But then again, when you look and see, like Patty Jenkins apparently said that it was studio interference that changed the ending.
Sure.
And but then again, look at what happens when you give her complete creative control. You end up with Wonder Woman 2.
Is that her complete creative control?
That is pretty much what she said before the movie came out. Was that she was like, I was given, because of the success of this first one, she was given a lot of leeway to make exactly the movie. This was her quote, exactly the movie she wanted to make.
Okay, so we have also equated, this is me tying back because I'm brilliant. We've also equated the second Wonder Woman to being like, what if you take the superheroes and then drop them into some sort of 80s female sitcom? Because that's sort of what's happening.
It does feel that way with the Kristen Wiig character and stuff. Like, oh, it's the wacky girl. Oh, she dropped her briefcase.
It's like the female version of Perfect Strangers.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman in the 80s or something like that.
Like,
what the fuck? Which is to say, I still think the sitcom should just be dead. We don't need to really bring that back.
Well tied back in. Good callback. And on that note, how do you feel about calling it there?
Absolutely.
We do have some other things to talk about, and we may even be considering changing our format up slightly for the next time. But we're going to discuss that further, and then I think we'll come back and talk about stuff next week again, yeah?
Yay. Do you want to tease what we might talk about? Are you going to be able to finish it this week?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to talk about a very random 90s movie that I don't think a lot of people remember or have seen, but man, I remember loving it when I was younger. And then I rewatched half of it and we didn't have time to finish it. And then I texted Adrianne in the middle and was like, we have to talk about this movie because I'm getting so much out of it.
Yeah.
And it's called The Long Kiss Goodnight. And it stars Gina Davis and Samuel Jackson, quite a bit younger Samuel Jackson, post Pulp Fiction. But
it's like 96.
Yeah. So Pulp Fiction was like 93.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Really awesome. Well, let me hold up because I haven't finished it. So
I did. I watched it. I did my duty, diligence.
Nice.
I did it.
Okay. Well, that's I think what we're gonna do next time because I've got some weirdly deep insights about a kind of schlocky action movie from the 90s.
Yay! Excited.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I'll see you then.
All right.
TV deeply, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Bye.